A quote from Diane Keaton in the movie Looking for Mr. Goodbar, originally about drinking. When I think of stamp collecting, the same words and thoughts apply. This wandering is a combined presentation from 3 very short wanderings in 2020, before we really got the hang of a regular format. Here we are again, meandering. I often like to start my meandering with an orange stamp. Here is my oldest orange stamp, U.S. Scott number 38 from 1860, one of the first series of perforated stamps. An updated note, of course, we changed the name meandering to wandering in the latter half of 2020. This is the improved version of the same slide. Here's our orange kickoff stamp for a different week. The real kickoff, running down the hill, is now either 60 days away or may not happen at all. Of course, that note was from 2020. In his search for a patron to finance his first voyage, Columbus went to La Rabida, where he met a ship owner named Martin Alonso Pinzon. Pinzon was very supportive of Columbus and his wish to sail across the ocean. The two men who became partners, and ultimately Pinzon was the commander of the Pinta during Columbus's maiden voyage. Pop quiz. What were the names of the other two ships? And here is the answer to this week's quiz. John Adams was appointed to a committee to draft the Declaration of Independence. Although he was a compelling author, Adams left the writing to Thomas Jefferson and used his abilities to ensure that the document was adopted. For his efforts, Jefferson referred to Adams as the great pillar of support to the Declaration of Independence and its ablest advocate and champion on the floor of the House. Adams and Jefferson both died on July 4th, 1826, within hours of each other. Adams' last words were, "Jefferson survives me." The painting by John Trumbull is sometimes incorrectly described as the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The painting shows the 5-man drafting committee presenting their draft of the Declaration to the Congress, an event that took place on June the 28th, 1776, and not the signing of the document, which took place later. Here is one of the latest finds for my collection, a cover from the USS Akron, the first flying aircraft carrier. She could launch and recover F-9C Sparrowhawk planes. The backside of the USS Akron cover, the helium-filled airship was in use from September 1931 to April 1933. It was part of the largest airship disaster in history, destroyed in a thunderstorm April 4th, 1933, killing 73 of the 76 airmen on board. This cover honors the centennial of the formation of the Indiana Territory, which is now my home territory. The United States first acquired the Northwest Territory after the 1783 Treaty of Paris following the Revolutionary War. The creation of the Northwest Ordinance dictated that this land would be divided and formed into separate states. According to the ordinance, once a territory reached a population of 60,000, it would begin the process of becoming a state. Ohio became part of the Northwest Territory in 1787. That year, the Northwest Ordinance was passed, which provided for granting Ohio and other territories statehood. The following year, Marietta, the first permanent European settlement in Ohio, was established by the Ohio Company of Associates. Veterans of the American Revolution were rewarded for their service with land grants. Many of these veterans settled along the Ohio River. In 1799, William Henry Harrison was chosen to represent the territory in Congress. The following year, he created the Harrison Land Act. The legislation allowed working-class Americans to purchase government land on credit in the Northwest Territory. The Division Act, created the following year, formed the Indiana Territory out of the western part of the Northwest Territory. In 1802, a convention met in the new capital of Chillicothe to create a constitution in preparation for statehood. On March 1, 1803, Ohio became the 17th state to join the Union. In 1800, the territory's governor, future U.S. President William Henry Harrison, negotiated a purchase of 2,900,000 acres of land from Indians in southern Indiana for U.S. settlement. The legendary Shawnee chief Tecumseh claimed the purchase was unfair. He raised an army and purchased guns from the British, but was defeated at the Battle of Tippecanoe. In 1813, Harrison again defeated Indian forces at the Battle of Thames, in which Tecumseh was killed. With this victory, pioneers were able to settle the land. On December the 11th, 1816, Indiana achieved statehood. The Indiana Territory incorporated present-day Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, and parts of Michigan and Minnesota. It was issued in Vincennes, Indiana, which served as the first capital of the Indiana Territory. On March 13, 1997, the United States Postal Service issued its first triangle-shaped stamps to promote the upcoming Pacific 97 stamp show. The world's first triangle-shaped stamps came 144 years earlier. Issued in 1853, the British colony of Cape of Good Hope's very first stamps were triangle-shaped. They were reportedly created in that shape to help illiterate postal clerks easily identify the difference in letters that were mailed from within the colony from those that were mailed from other places. The United States Postal Service issued one other triangular stamp in 2007. Paul and Chris Cayley were mentioned on a previous Virtual Stamp Club Sunday call. Here's an autographed father and son cover. Paul Cayley worked closely with NASA and had advance notice of upcoming projects. He's best remembered for his stamps with space designs. However, he designed over 200 stamps for the post office. His son, Chris, is still designing stamps today. Here's the first Christmas seal from 1907. It was originally sold by the Red Cross to raise money for tuberculosis research and treatment. The first seal sold out very quickly and was reprinted with Happy New Year. They added a second color for 1908. Here is the only known example of the first two Christmas seals tied with postage on a postcard. It was discovered and purchased for $63 in 2010. It sold at auction 2 years later for $6,700. Here's a recent addition to my collection from the Royal Mail. These stamps are from 2007. The Beatles were a large part of my teenage years and a major reason that my generation enjoyed the best music and performers in the history of music. Here is U.S. Scott number 2522. Although the F stood for flower on the regular non-denominated stamps, it was purely coincidental that it also stood for flag on these experimental ATM stamps. As part of the Postal Service's test program with Seattle First National Bank, these stamps were vended through automatic teller machines, or ATMs, to determine their practicality and appeal. This was the only plastic stamp issued by the United States Postal Service. They were eventually declared toxic to the environment. This bicolored 6-cent airmail stamp was issued in celebration of National Airmail Week, which commemorated the 20th anniversary of the first government airmail flight. President Franklin Roosevelt, a stamp enthusiast, was presented with some possible designs for the new stamp, but sketched his own idea instead. His flying eagle became the picture on the new airmail stamp. The 6-cent eagle first went on sale in Dayton, Ohio, the home of the Wright brothers, and St. Petersburg, Florida, where the first passenger flight was made. A temporary post office was established because the American Airmail Society was holding its annual convention in St. Petersburg. To celebrate the anniversary, towns all over the U.S. prepared individual First Day covers. Most covers were mailed on Thursday, May the 19th, 1938, to take part in special one-day-only flights. Towns with no airport cleared fields and closed roads so that the planes could take off and land with the special envelopes. President Roosevelt received hundreds of covers from all over America, each bearing the stamp that he had designed. Here's something I just received from my collection, a complete booklet with 2 panes and the glassine pages in between, with no folds. After listening to comments about the scarcity of a used booklet pane, I couldn't resist this offer from Gary Posner, even though it wasn't in the budget and management may not approve. Collectors were unaware of the difference between the booklet and the sheet stamp, so it was overlooked. Almost all the people who purchased the booklet were collectors, so very few used copies of the pane exist. Over 20 million sheet stamps were issued. The stamp soon became obsolete after the airmail rate dropped to 5 cents less than 2 months after its issue. An Amelia Earhart hand-painted cover. But why this date? It commemorates the 50th anniversary of Amelia's first crossing of the Atlantic with Wilbur Stutz, 4 years before her solo flight. Why Cheyenne, Wyoming? She made a stop in Cheyenne in a gyroplane while flying cross-country in 1931. Looking at the back of the C-10 stamp booklet, Cheyenne was on the original airmail route across the United States. It was also part of the Transcontinental Railroad route. Early airmail pilots often used railroad tracks to navigate. Breaking news during the initial year of the Virtual Stamp Club weekly calls in 2020. For your information, I will be unable to join next week's chat. I will be thinking of stamps from time to time during the weekend. I will be watching Indy cars in Wisconsin at Road America, one of the most beautiful racetracks on earth. The track is over 4 miles long with 14 turns up and down hill, with tremendous viewing areas and plenty of room for social distancing. They call Road America the National Park of Speed because the setting is like a national park with a road racing course in the middle. In 2021, I made my 20th consecutive summer trip to Road America, a great tradition for me. Thanks for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. This logo is one that my father invented long ago and will appear on my future Stamp Chat videos and on my personal YouTube channel.